For those of you in the state of Tennessee that are planning on doing IVF, I just wanted to forewarn you that discarding your embryos, even those that are not viable and have chromosome abnormalities that would more than likely not survive in the womb, discarding them is in violation of the Human Life Protection Act, which is the total abortion ban that was passed in Tennessee, I think on August 25th. And it's a Class C felony to violate it. So that means you can be punished up to 3 to 15 years in prison and incur over $10,000 worth of fines.
No way! How are Republicans going to shame a woman if the embryo came from a petri dish or freezer instead of her womb? They can't blame her restless libido.
And for those of you hearing this and thinking, there's no way that's true, this is fear-mongering, it's not, because I actually reached out to my state senator and state representative and asked them how this new law would affect IVF, and this is the email I received this morning. Pause to read it. I also felt very judged in his response for asking this unusual question, but unfortunately, I don't want to transfer embryos that I know I'm going to miscarry. I'd like to save myself that heartache, and I don't want to have 20 children, so...
Yeah, so even though there's no explicit mention of IVF embryo disposal in the Tennessee abortion ban, I, like Sarah here, fear the language is already there, and IVF technicians wouldn't be afforded the benefit of the doubt in court. Tennessee's Human Life Protection Act says an unborn child has personhood from fertilization through the embryonic and fetal stages to the point of birth. And abortion means use of any apparatus with the intent to end a pregnancy with intent other than to increase probability of a live birth, preserve the life of the child after live birth, or remove a dead fetus. Therefore, embryo disposal is on the chopping block. And Sarah's state rep, who she contacted twice for clarification on the law, had the exact personality we all thought a male Republican would have: patronizing and ignorant. On top of calling her inquiry unusual because she wanted kids, he asked her for tips on what to tell other women and gave some anecdote of a couple having success with non-viable embryos. Yeah. Thanks, dude. This gray area hasn't been cleared up by most states with abortion bans, which is ridiculous. So if you're considering IVF and are confused about legal restrictions, what then are your options? Well, you could donate your remaining embryos to other parents if they meet viability criteria. You probably can't donate them to research as they would be destroyed/aborted. You could store them for future use, or you could just drive out of state for your IVF. So 2 of your 3 options cost large amounts of money and time, which again exploits the have-not situation that Republicans never consider. The average bill for treatment, medication, and embryo storage is $30,000 to $40,000. Yeah, embryos get charged rent too. So you really need IVF coverage from your insurance, which most likely is a feature of expensive insurance provided by employers. You also need a lot of free time. Just to get embryos frozen and prep for transfer, that takes a minimum 3.5 months to well over 8.5 months maximum. We're talking possibly years dedicated to getting pregnant. That is not a sustainable model for women who are working multiple jobs, who have no childcare resources, who are paying for their own insurance or just out of pocket. Whether or not states prosecute over disposed embryos, IVF for decades never required moral consultation on the decision. The woman's competence was never brought into question because the woman wasn't trying to end a pregnancy. But once an embryo is in utero, the woman bears a heavy moral burden. It's obvious that abortion bans were always about control over women's bodies and autonomy. So women, if you are considering IVF, demand and receive clarity from your state representatives on the legality of the procedure, as women were completely kept out of the abortion ban legislative process to begin with. And it makes me wonder, will a ban of embryo disposal become a federal issue? What will women do then?